Hello, my name is Chani and I will introduce you how to use this DHT11 sensor. It is thermometer and it is also hygrometer, so we can find out the temperature and humidity. It used the resistor of that that changes the resistor by the temperature, and it used the resistor that move by humidity. So it is it find out the two things, temperature and humidity. It is really cheap sensor, but it is a little bit unprecise. I will tell you how to connect this DHT11 to Arduino. Normal times it usually many sensors has the name on this pin, like GND, VCC, data, signal, echo. There is some name on the pin, but in this case I didn't but the shield of this DHT11, so there is no name on these pins, as you can see. So I found the data sheet and I find out here this pin is number 1 and this pin is number 2 and this pin is number 3 and this is 4. So I will just call pin 1, pin 2, pin 3, pin 4. So I will show you how to connect with this Arduino and DHT11. So I will divide it with the 2. There is a 4 pin on DHT, but we will only use 3 of them. So I will divide it. Okay. Here is Arduino, and as you can see, there is pin 1. We will use pin 1 and pin 2, but we will not use pin 3 and we will use pin 4. So that's all. Pin 1 is just easy. It is VCC pin, so you can connect it to 5 volt on your Arduino. And pin 2, it is data pin. So you can connect it to any digital input, but I will just put it on A0. And lastly, pin 4, it is ground. So I will put this. But in this A0, it is not just a normal. It is connected after VCC, and then to A0. I will show you what it really means. As you can see in my computer, you can see the data sheet on here. So here is DHT11 and here is the number 1, 2, 3, 4. But in number 2 you have to connect. Normally you don't have to connect this VCC and just connect this to your Arduino. But in this case, in this sensor, this data sheet shows that you have to connect this data pin with your VCC and resistor. So as you can see, you have to connect the data pin after you go through the VCC. So you have to use VCC, and also you have to put your resistor, and in this case I used the resistor for 10 kilo ohm. Sorry. So I will use 10 kilo ohm, and I will connect this data pin to A0 after VCC. So let's connect it. I will use this breadboard, and I will use pin 1, 2, 3, 4, and after I connected this to Arduino, I will put this DHT11 on this breadboard. So on pin 1, as I talked, I will put VCC 5 voltage on here, and then number 2 data pin. It can be a little bit hard, but I will just put it on here, pin number 2, and I will connect this on A0. And as you can see, I didn't connect to any resistor or things, so I will connect this resistor. This is 10 kilo ohm, and I will connect this with this to VCC. So as you can see, here is VCC 5 volt, and here is data pin, but this data pin goes after this VCC with 10 kilo ohm. So I set up the data pin, and lastly you can connect pin number 4 here. As you can see, this is 1, and this is 2, and this is 3. I didn't connect anything on this pin number 3, and I will connect the ground on pin number 4, and I will just connect this on GND. So, and that's all. So I connected on pin 1, pin 2, pin 3, pin 4. So I just have to connect this on this side. Wait a minute. Yes. And that's all you have to do. So I connected my Arduino and my DHT11 on my laptop, and I will show you how to program it. Before programming, you have to download your library on your Arduino IDE. On your library manage, wait a minute, you have to find out the 2 libraries. First is just DHT library, so I will just write DHT, and like this it is installed in my laptop. And DHT sensor library by Adafruit, and in normal case you have to just download and install this, but this library says it should use another library. It is called Adafruit Unified Sensor. So I will just it is quite a bit slow. Unified Sensor. Wait a minute. As you can see, Adafruit Unified Sensor on this. So you have to install this library because the DHT library said that it must have this library. So you have to install 2 libraries. First is DHT, and second one is unified sensor. Both of them made by Adafruit. So I will talk you how to program it. So on here I included a DHT header file, and then I defined the DHT pin to A0 and DHT type to DHT11. You can just write it on here A0 and DHT11, but I just defined it and put it on here. On here you can declare your DHT object, write with all capital DHT, and then write I wrote DHT with small letter, but in this case you can just write anything. You can write your name or anything you want, but I just write a small letter of DHT, and then you can write on your pin and your DHT type on here. So if normally people use 11, but there is a 12 too. It is 22. Sorry, 22. It is more expensive but more precise. So people who use 22, you should write it like this. But in my case, I will use 11, and then I declared my object. I started my serial and I printed DHT11 test, and I will begin my DHT. In this DHT, in my case I wrote this, but in if you use another name on here, you have to change this that you have used. And then on loop, I declared the variable with float and DHT point with the humidity and temperature with the DHT point with temperature. So you can get humidity and temperature with this function, but if you want Fahrenheit, not Celsius, you have to write true on here, and then true rule, and you can get on Fahrenheit. But in my case I use Celsius. I just write nothing in here, and you can also compute the heat index with humidity and temperature. So I can get DHT point, compute the heat index, and then I wrote this T temperature and this H of humidity and write false. If I wrote false, it will compute the heat index with Celsius. But if you use Fahrenheit, you can just delete this one, and you can get heat index with Fahrenheit. But I will use Celsius, so I will leave that. And I wrote print humidity and write H, and I will tap and then temperature with T temperature and with Celsius and tap and heat index on heat index on Celsius, and I will just write Celsius on here, and I will delay it for 2 seconds, and that's all. I will upload it. Wait a minute. Here it is. Uploading, and it's uploaded on my Arduino, and I will do nothing on here. I will see my computer, and I will open my serial monitor. Wait a minute, and you can see it is going. It is 78%, and it is 29 Celsius, and you can see the heat index. I will blow to increase the humidity, so I will, and before it is just 78%, but you can see it goes 95 and goes to 95, and heat index is increased by my breath. And that's all, and you can use this information if you want. And thank you for watching.